Hi, Jen.
Hi, Kirsty.
So, for those of you watching or listening today, Jennifer Given is joining me. And Jen started her career in practice. She's ICAS qualified and then worked her way up into leadership roles across a variety of sectors, really. And now Jen is the COO at Float. And Float is a rapidly growing software company which provides cash flow forecasting tools, or a tool which I highly rate and recommend, and I can say that because I use it. So it's nice for you to join me today, Jen. I think you've been at Float for about 2 years now, coming up.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Kirsty. Yeah, I've been at Float for, must be over 18 months now. Yeah, I think it'll be 2 years towards the end of this year.
Brilliant. So why don't you kick off and tell us how this COVID-19 world is affecting you?
Sure. So I guess, well, first of all, on a personal level, with 2 young kids at home, definitely a challenge, and I'm definitely feeling the challenge that a lot of folk, I'm sure, are facing just now with trying to cope with working from home, managing, homeschooling and all the rest of it. And just so thankful that hopefully the schools go back in a few weeks and some kind of normality and structure will come back to everybody's days. And I'm sure the kids will be thankful for that as well. So I think on a personal level, I've definitely felt that. And from a work perspective, it's been fascinating for us actually, because I think we're, been speaking to other finance leaders, and I think we're probably in a bit of a different position to some other people, where what we found is the need, maybe it's not the need for cash flow forecasting, the awareness for cash flow forecasting and the need for that has definitely risen in the last few months. All of a sudden, we're, accountants and businesses alike are realizing they should have had this in place, and how can they now get the picture of their cash position and really be able to model out the scenarios and what if. So Float has really come into its own over the last few months. And what we've really tried to do as a business is think about how can we help them. So very early on, we recognized that we had a tool that could really help businesses, and it was really then about how can we get that out to them and sort of raise that awareness. So I think from that side of the business, it's been good, and it's felt like we've had something worthwhile to be able to really to do over the last few months. But I think, alongside that, we're growing as well, as you mentioned. So we've been recruiting. So we've actually added, I think, 6 people to the team since lockdown started. And that's been something really new for us, where we've had to, most of those, I think 5 of those were actually recruited remotely and joined remotely. And one was recruited through your help, actually, at the start of this year, and just through notice period didn't join us until lockdown. So that's been really interesting for us as well, learning how to recruit well remotely and how to onboard well remotely as well has definitely been a challenge and a lot of learnings for us.
Onboarding remotely is something I've been asked about a lot over the last few months, as you can imagine. Any tips for anyone listening?
Yeah, I guess, any tips? I can certainly, the things that we've been doing, first of all, it all starts in the recruitment, as I'm sure you'll know, and making sure that you've got the right person coming in just makes such a big difference. So we knew we had people coming in that were really well aligned to our values. And so therefore we had a lot of confidence going into that onboarding. We've done it a few different ways and tried it a few different things, but I think despite Zoom fatigue definitely being a thing, it's definitely good to get all the introductions done. We're lucky we're a small team. There's about 30 of us now. So we're lucky that we can actually have all of those introductions done, even in sort of small teams over the first day or so. So at least everyone's kind of said hello, which I think is really helpful. And really having new people come in and spending the first week just getting to know the team, getting to know the product, and not having a huge amount more expectation than that. Because actually that's the foundation for everything else. So having a really clear onboarding structure where before they join, everything's sent out to them, they've got the equipment that they need, they've got all of the software set up that they need. It's all really easy, ready to go, sort of plug and play for them first thing on the Monday morning. And then a sort of calendar laid out where they're really clear who they're meeting and when, because they don't have somebody sitting next to them to say, oh, next up you're meeting Kirsty. It really is they're really clear on what's expected. And I think everybody's really, really appreciated that. and just lots of times for just general check-ins as well. Right. Are really helpful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. As I say, it's very topical at the minute.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's keeping you awake at the moment?
Well, other than my 6-year-old, who still is determined to come through and wake me up most nights, just because she can. I don't know that there's anything. I don't know anything that's keeping me up at night. But I guess what's on my mind most, I would say, is team health. So we have. We've got a fairly young team, and I don't include myself in that term, but I would say most of the team are quite young. They have, so their situation's probably different to mine, where most of them don't have families at home, or sort of young families at home. But that's not without its challenges. I think we're very aware that everybody has different challenges as they go through this sort of lockdown period. And what we're trying to make sure is that both from a personal perspective and from a work perspective, people feel supported, which is really important. And we've done other things around. We've implemented sort of more of a sort of well-being Slack channel where we've started thinking more about what else we can do proactively around mental health as well, and sort of bringing in more resources around that too. Just really to give the team opportunity to be able to think about that stuff and be able to share some of that. And it's such a fantastic team. They're also willing to share with each other as well, which just makes those conversations really rich and really helpful for each other. So I think that's top of mind, particularly as we go through the next period of change, where some people are starting to feel like they want to come back to the office because they're at home and they might be stuck in a room where they're sleeping there and they're working there and everything is done within this one room, and they want to be able to get home. Or you've got people, that have kids that want to just be able to get some kind of normality as well. And other people that are actually settling into working from home and are feeling a little bit more nervous about coming back to the office and when that might be. So trying to figure out how we best manage that so that it's, first of all, we get it right for the team, but also that we get it right for Float as well. So I think that over the next few months, it's going to be a big challenge for us as we figure out how do we move to the new way of working, and what does that look like, and how do we make the best of that as well. Yeah,
and obviously hindsight is a wonderful thing. So you'll be able to review that and reflect on that once you've done it.
Absolutely.
But what do you think has been your biggest learn so far since COVID-19 outbreak?
I think my biggest learning has probably been just how resilient the team are to change. I think we were super, well, not we, I was worried about how we would cope moving to a remote working environment, particularly because we'd really, at Float, we'd really worked and recruited as a team that wanted to be together in the office, wanted to be able to have that in-person collaboration, and that was all really important, and that was something we talked about a lot, and actually really put ourselves out there as not a remote company. So if you'd been speaking to us 6 months ago, we'd talked very much about being a company that want to be spending time together, and I think that's still true, which is fantastic. But we were forced into this remote only way of working. And obviously from a technical perspective, we were able to all just pick up our laptops and go home. And, there weren't any problems from that perspective at all, other than a few people with some sketchy internet at home. But really it was about how do we take the culture and the team environment that we have and transpose that into a remote environment, which is hard. And how do we get the right level of comms where people aren't feeling like they're sitting on Zoom all day, but they're also feeling connected to what we're doing as well. And I think that's been a learning journey for us over the last few months. And that will continue now as we go the other way, where we have some people coming back into the office and some people at home. It may even be even harder, because I think when everybody's remote, it feels possible to move this communication all sort of also that it's all available to everybody. With some people in the team coming back, how do we maintain that sort of good levels of communication as well?
That's really nice to hear that it is a learning journey, because I've experienced that as well with the communication. Has it been too much Zoom fatigue or too little? And I recognise now that we've definitely not quite got it right at certain times.
Yeah.
But then how can we get it right? First time it'd be very unlikely because we're all going through this.
Absolutely. And I think just making, what we've tried to do is have make it as open as possible so that the team can say, actually, this isn't working or this is working. What was really interesting was the team that we've got out in Australia. So we've got 3 people out there now. And they actually found as the UK team moved remote, they felt much more connected to everything that was going on because it was all going on in the Slack channels, or, it was all going through sort of offline communication rather than in person, which just meant that they felt much more involved, which I hadn't even seen coming and actually hadn't recognized as the issue that it was until that happened. So yeah, I think, we've definitely, in some teams went too far one way and then had to pull back and go the other way. And I think it's just learning and the whole team feeling like they're open enough to be able to say, this isn't working, or can we try it a different way? And yeah, let's try it a different way. Let's just keep trying different ways until we find what works.
So if I asked you to look into your crystal ball, what do you think is going to be different in the business world once we come through this? And someone did challenge me recently about what does that really mean, come through this, which is a good challenge. But I guess really what I mean is, think 6, 12 months, 18 months, a couple of years down the line, what do you think will be different?
Gosh, probably almost everything will be different in one way or another. I think just how businesses interact with each other will be different. People will be much less likely to jump on a train to go down to London for a meeting when they could just, we realised that we're all able to do it remotely. I think, thinking back to obviously being a finance person as well, cash flow forecasting is obviously something that's really close to my heart anyway. I hope that what's going to happen is businesses will continue to feel the need for being aware of their cash flow going forward, even as we start to come through this as well. Hopefully that awareness has risen, and that's something that businesses are going to be thinking about, and their advisors will be as well. I think that's going to be really important. Business continuity, and how do we manage for what seemed like ridiculous what if scenarios, as you do your risk assessments, suddenly became reality almost overnight, which would never have even really been thought of as we were writing these business continuity plans. So now they're a reality. I think people will take them much more seriously as we go through them. I'm sure boards will take them much more seriously as well. And I think that's something that we'll start to see. And I think the sort of cash flow forecasting and awareness will be a key part of that, how being able to manage that. So I think that will definitely be different. And I think, like I said, just the way of working, I think Float will look quite different as to how we work in 12 months as what it did 12 months ago. But I'm excited about that. I'm sure that will bring other opportunities for us as well. And if that helps the team find a better balance for how they work, if that means that people are saving a couple of hours on a day that they choose to work from home, that they're now not commuting, does that give them a couple of hours more to spend with their family, or to do something, some other hobby that they want to do? So I think that balance will be better as well. I hope.
I like it. I agree. So lastly, what piece of wisdom or positivity would you like to share with other COOs, CFOs, business leaders that will hopefully be watching this video?
Gosh, I'm not sure wisdom's something that I could bring, but positivity maybe. I think I've been amazed watching, not just our team come through this, but other businesses come through this, that actually we can do this. We can find our way through this, and actually believing in the talent that you have in the team around you, that if you can trust in them, then we will figure this out. We will need to change, and we need to be open to be able to do that, because I don't think anyone will come through this unchanged. But I think I really feel like with the resilience and the willingness to change that I've seen in the team, that whatever kind of comes our way, whatever changes come our way in the next 6 to 12 months, I think we'll feel like we'll get our way through that, and hopefully come out stronger at the other side.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Kirsty. It was great to chat.
Great chatting. Bye-bye.